Hello, welcome to Monkey Hellhound.
I'm Lorelai.
This is Jaden.
So Jaden, what thing are we talking about now? Like, are we talking about a theory? Are we talking about an actual thing that happened? Like,
It
what's
could
up?
be a theory. I suppose the could worship a Garfield-like entity.
So what are you implying? Are you implying a godlike Garfield?
You know about Jim Davis's Garfield and His Nine Lives, right? We talked about this right before we started recording.
Mm-hmm. So can you like explain to that like what that is for listeners?
Okay. It's a book. It's a bizarre official Garfield media book put out by Paws Incorporated,
Mm-hmm.
the Jim Davis's company, creator of Garfield. And it has 10 sections, one for each of Garfield's 9 lives, and one for the creation of cats/Garfield. And it implies that humans are one part of God's image and cats are the other half.
Mm.
And it's really, really, really bizarre.
Okay. So can you like so what is like our theory for today then out of that, like based on that?
Well, let's go to the preamble, because the preamble is bizarre a little bit.
Hmm.
I read you the first part, so I'll read you.
And for listeners, we're basing this off a book by the actual creators. Apparently,
Mhm.
I've never heard about it before today. What's the name of it again?
Garfield, His 9 Lives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So so read what you're gonna read.
It occurred to us there were elements of Garfield's complex personality that may well have been established in his previous lives. A cat's
Hmm.
proverbial 9 lives. It was an exciting premise, one which would consume the staff and brought out the best in everyone. Many all-nighters and hundreds of hours of conceptual discussion went into this book. This is a different book. It is dedicated to the Garfield philosophy of pure entertainment. I'm also dedicating this book to the staff whose talents and courage make this bold statement possible. And these are the artists that work on the different sections. Neil Tech Ruse, Gary Barker, Kevin Campbell, Jim Clements, Doc Davis, Larry Fentz, Mike Fentz, Hildebrand, Dave Kuhn, and Ron Tuthel.
Hmm.
So that is like really weird. It's it's this thing that Paws Incorporated does where they hold Garfield on like the highest pedestal. Um
Like, how so? What do you mean?
well, it's just Garfield. Like, what do they mean by the Garfield philosophy of entertainment? And why did they pull many all-nighters and hundreds of hours going to this book?
Hmm. And so, okay. So let me like recap what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So there's a book and it's talking about how like what God created cats or something or created Garfield or the creation
Uh-huh.
of Garfield and about his 9 lives.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book then, so does it talk about like what happened in each of those lives?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Each of
So
those lives is bizarre in their own right. And they all attribute to one aspect of Garfield's character in some way or another.
mm,
In his first life, he's like a Viking dude, cat. And he says at the very end, because at the beginning, there's a little preamble from the modern Garfield talking about each of his lives. And this is the one before Genesis, the creation of Garfield.
mm.
Which came first, the cat or which came first, the cat or the kitten?
What the?
It's Garfield.
Okay. Oh right, that's his. I haven't watched Garfield in a minute.
Never before published story behind the creation of nature's most perfect animal.
Wow, that's a really good Garfield impression, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Okay. And then God says, with his creepy cat eyes, I feel like creating cat today.
Hmm.
And at the very... If you haven't seen this image, just look up, is Garfield God? And the thing you will see is an orange man say, let's just say I'm partial to cats, okay? That's all you need to know.
Mm.
That's the first thing. That's the first section, is Genesis. Then we get into his 9 lives. Or, sorry, his first life was cave cat. His second life was Viking cat. This one's, it's like a Flintstone story. In my first life, I formulated... In my first life... In my first life, I formulated many of my likes and dislikes. I disliked my rock bed. On the other hand, you wouldn't believe the size of the pterodactyl drumsticks.
So, okay, so
So this
basically
is
we're debating if he's God or not. So, like, would that mean that Garfield...
Or is he Jesus?
Maybe, because maybe he's like the son of God, because how could Garfield be God if God created cats, unless Garfield came before cats and created more cats because he thought that that was a superior being?
That is the implication of this book.
Okay. But also, what you were mentioning about like the different 9 lives, I'm really getting into this now. I'm like really invested. So, have you ever heard of what? Okay, so have you ever heard of the egg theory about reincarnation stuff? So, what if the cat like is actually going along? What if this is just going along with the egg theory? How Garfield is actually just everything all at once.
Oh, he's
What
like,
if Garfield is all of us?
oh, is Garfield like a representation of humanity? Or not even just humanity, but
Yeah.
like creation itself?
Yeah, like what if cuz you know, you have to live every single life on earth that basically, okay, for listeners, the egg theory is basically you're everything at once. You're every single person at once. So when you die, you get reincarnated. Let's say I passed away, you know? And then in my afterlife, I meet this like, you know, great entity of the universe or something like that. And then what happens to me is that I get put into either a different timeline or maybe it's the same timeline, whatever. I just get put in another random person's soul. Like I could be some British guy from
New Orleans.
Yeah, I could, well, or like some like, I don't know, I could be some guy from Asia in 1600. Like basically that. It's so random like that. And so Garfield kind of goes along with the egg theory a little bit because in a way he's kind of living like kind of multiple lives. Like this is an example of like living multiple lives at the same time. So that's why I'm drawing to that conclusion for people wondering. So yeah.
Right, I really like that conclusion as well, because this book really supports that. Because in his first life, he gets his big appetite from eating dinosaurs, and he likes sleeping on comfortable beds, of course. Then, his Viking life, he's a hard worker, and at the end, that's where he says he learned to... That's where he says in his second life, he forbade work. He gave up on working. He decided to become a house cat, not a working cat. And in his third life, it goes into a kind of Garfield noir story. In this, his name is Sam Spade.
Okay, so for reference, we're looking at a photo in the book right now, and it's of a kind of humanoid-like cat, and he has like a fedora on, and he kind of looks like a detective. Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he's a detective in this. And I'm just going to read the first panel because it is so, I think it's from the era. Let's just say that.
Oh?
The dust had to be an inch thick on my desk. A thick layer of paper was forming around the base of the trash can. An empty bottle of scotch lay on the floor next to the couch where I had a business engagement the night before. Coffee, Sam? Kitty wasn't much on keeping an office clean, but she could make a great cup of coffee. I still remember the day she came in looking for work. The dust had to be half an inch thick on my desk. A thin layer of papers was forming around the base of a trash can. A half-empty bottle of scotch sat on the floor next to the couch where I had a business engagement the night before. She wanted to be a secretary. She had all the requirements. A great body would make a great body that would make your back arch. And she
Oh.
and she made a great cup of coffee. I gave her a job. That was yesterday.
So, what era, like, I'm guessing that's, like, very 1900s. Yeah.
It keeps going. Just before.
Maybe don't.
San Francisco is a beautiful city.
Oh, okay.
The cable cars, fog rolling off the bay, Chinatown, the Golden Gate Bridge, the wharf. Gee, I wish I lived there.
Okay. So, like, that's a very, like, good example of how, like, what do you think what did that contribute? What did that life contribute
I don't
to
know.
Garfield? Like, what do you think?
But you see how... I'm sorry, I'm moving stuff around. You see how long this section of the book is?
Yeah.
And the detail on the illustrations is crazy. It is like, for audio listeners, again, no video listeners, but for the audio listeners, is just furry humanoid cats.
Yeah.
Detective noir setting.
Okay. Okay.
I think we gotta wrap up. But
Yeah.
we'll close with I encountered enough mice in my fourth life to fill 9 lives. That's why I've retired from the rat race.
Okay.
What does that mean? He just doesn't want to be a cog in the machine anymore
Yeah.
after being a detective?
I mean, hey, he eats lasagna for a living. Can't blame him.
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't want to. Honestly, that's too much work, bro. That's so mainstream catching mice, guys. That's so. Who does that anymore? What the hell? What the heck? No, I can say what the hell.
Yeah, we can say
Yeah.
what the hell.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, there might be an egg theory. Garfield might be God. Garfield might be Jesus. We will leave it up to you to conclude what you want to conclude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we are open to all theories here at Monkey Hellhound. Yeah.
If you enjoyed it, leave a like, download, share with your friends.
Yeah. Share with your grandma. I'm sure she'd enjoy this.
Share with grandma, share with your grandpa.
Yeah. So, yeah, from the El Cerrito High Media Academy, we present this podcast to you from our KECG studios. Yeah. So, thanks for listening.